Marjane Satrapi was born in 1961 in Raj, Iran. In 1979, when Marjane turned 10, Iran's Islamic Revolution against the Shah took place, and she witnessed all the changes in her country that later became a focus of her books. Her family friends were persecuted, arrested, and even assassinated by the police. The loss of her uncle left her deeply upset, and as a young teen, Marjane began to act out, getting into trouble with the police. Her parents grew concerned about Marjane's future, so in 1983 they sent her to Vienna, Austria. After almost dying of pneumonia, she returned to Iran. She studied visual communication. After that, she moved to Strasbourg, France. Marjane is married right now to Matthias Ripa, a Swedish national, and they live in Paris together. Marjane published her books Persepolis I in 2000 and Persepolis II in 2001 in France. They tell the story of her childhood and they were translated into English in 2003. The Veil. The story starts when Marjane Satrapi was 10, the year before the Islamic Revolution took place, and a lot of things had changed. First, it became mandatory to wear the veil at school. Also, all bilingual schools closed down and they separate boys and girls as a result of a cultural revolution. Even though she was very religious, she didn't know what to think about the veil, and she came up with the idea that she wanted to be a prophet, the bicycle. She felt that she had to take action against the revolution. Her father said, "After a long sleep of 2,500 years, the revolution has finally awakened up the people." So, Marjane's parents were talking about going to a demonstration, and she overheard and she told them that she wanted to go with them, but they refused, because it was very dangerous. Due to that, she felt disappointed, because she wanted to support the country as well. The water cell. Things started to get worse. People threw stones and army responded with blood. One day, she told her parents that the king was good, because he was chosen by God, or at least that's what they had told her at school. So as a result of hearing that, her dad sat her in his lap and confessed her that her grandpa's father was the emperor that was overthrown by the Shah's father. That meant that her grandpa was a prince, and later he was named prime minister. Once this happened, he became a communist, but for this reason he was sent to prison, where they put him through horrible things. That story about her grandpa really affected Marjane. Persepolis. One day after school, Marjane's grandma mentioned her about her grandpa being in prison. She told her that it was very difficult to go through that, mainly because they took everything they owned, so they lived in poverty for a long time. At dinner's time, it was very late and Marjane's dad wasn't home yet. He went out to take photos of the demonstration, and that was forbidden. So Marjane, her mother, and her grandma were really worried, but finally, after a few hours, he got home. The letter. After reading so many books, she understood what the reason for the revolution was, the difference between social classes. But suddenly, she remembered that her family had a maid at home, Mary. At the beginning of the revolution, she fell in love with the neighbor's son. They looked each other from the window almost every day, and one day he wrote her a letter. When Marjane's father figured out what was happening, he decided to go after the neighbor's son, and he gave him all the letters. Even though they loved each other, her father said that their love was impossible due to the difference in their social class. That didn't seem right for Marjane, but after she understood the reason for the revolution, she decided to go to demonstrate with Mary by her side. The party. One day, the Shah made an announcement on TV saying that he will try to march towards democracy, but the more he tried, the more his statues were torn down. People just wanted him to leave, and one day he finally did it. There was never a bigger celebration in the country. After all the joy, people everywhere started to invent weird stories about what had happened. And although Marjane was really upset, she chose to forgive. The heroes. The political prisoners were released a few days later, and the family knew two of them, Saemak, the father of one of Marjane's friends, and Mohsen, a family friend. Both started to talk about the things that they did to them in prison, and the tortures that they received. Everyone was shocked. Those stories gave Marjane ideas for her games. That feeling of power didn't last much. She felt overwhelmed again, and her mother told her not to worry, that they will pay for what they've done.